when I look at life right now, I'm like, holy shit, awesome, Kipp, celebrate that. But I don't as much as I should. And I don't, why? Because it's not good enough. It's never good enough, right? And I got to remind myself, man, life is good. I would have never dreamt of my life. There are people willing to die and have what I have. And yet I'm operating in the space of it's not good enough, right? So for me, it's about being present where I'm at.
Kipp, man, it feels like a real pleasure. I get to have a conversation with you like this 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
And when I say pleasure, I mean miserable.
Yeah. And it means also that I have a pretty open schedule, because usually, there's no way it's like, hey, can you record tomorrow? Usually that's not possible. So
yeah, your schedule, yeah. I don't know if I'm impressed and envious or feel really sorry for you, but your schedule is always like, can't got this. And I know you manage your schedule well, but I'm like, oof, that would be rough. For me, it would anyways.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's corporate America, right? Like you open up your calendar, people can book time with you. And if you're not managing it carefully, it's their time and you're just executing, which sucks too, right? So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but it is what it is, and I'm glad we have this conversation. So we're doing an Ask Me Anything today, so let's just jump right into the questions. Actually, you know what? There was a question we missed from last week, and it was in the Facebook group, and I wanted to address it because it was a really good question, and I can't remember exactly what it said, but the gentleman was talking about, or maybe you can pull it up. Can you pull it up real quick, or will that take a minute?
Yeah.
In the meantime, I'll answer another question while you're doing that, and I'm going to pull this one from Instagram.
And this is from last week, not this week.
Last week, yeah. Okay. I should have told you so you were aware of it, but
no, it's fine.
This one comes from Instagram. Now, I didn't say I was going to address these on the podcast, so I'm not going to say names, but I do want to get through these. So the first one is this: I'm 7 months sober, finally, 47 years old, struggling lately with how much I've screwed up my life. Do you have any advice? And I can definitely relate with this question because of some decisions that I made and overcoming alcohol abuse. And it's hard when you feel like you've messed up. There's a lot of guilt and shame and remorse that comes with it. And also you have to live with the consequences of your decisions. Some of those are short-lived. The consequences are acute and you deal with them and you're done. And others could potentially be long-lasting, maybe even for life, depending on the situation. And I don't know your situation, but what I would say to you as far as struggling with the mess ups that you've made, and we talk about this quite often, is number one, acknowledging the truth behind it, that you have indeed messed up, and then getting very familiar with what ways you've messed up. It's not enough to say, I messed up this way. It's, I hurt this person, I did this thing, I took advantage of somebody in this scenario. But get very, very specific. And that's going to be hard because it's painful when you do that, because now you're opening old wounds and remembering some of the missteps that you've made. I would say number two is apologize where you can and do it once, and then that's it. And you never have to do it again. I know there's a lot of people out there who feel really sorrowful about things they may have done to other people, and they profusely apologize forever, like all the time. It's like, just say it once, say what you need to say. Your apology is not contingent on their response or acceptance of the apology. Just say it. Just say what you need to say and do it right, even if it's a letter. That might actually be a good exercise too, is just writing a letter down. If you can't apologize to somebody, maybe they're no longer in your life or they've passed away or whatever it might be, you don't have access to them, write a letter out. I'm sorry I did this. I'm sorry. Here's how it impacted you. Here's how I'm changing my life moving forward, and whatever you need to say, and then burn it. Yeah. That's all you can do. I actually had a really good call with somebody yesterday that I owed an apology to from 2 years ago. And it had been weighing on my mind. And so I made the call and offered the apology, and I was very heartfelt and sincere in that. And the other person said, I need a minute to process that. Can I call you later? I said, yeah, absolutely. So we're going to talk in the next day or two. but they were open and receptive to my apology. But even if they weren't, it felt really, really good for me to say it.
Yeah.
And then the best apology we often hear, well, the last thing I was going to say is the best apology we often hear is changed behavior. So now you're acutely aware of the problems and what you did. You've made amends where you can, and now you change your behavior and you look at the situation with some level of gratitude, knowing that it stirred a change of heart and a change of action in you. And when you show up in a more powerful way for your family or your kids or at work or in the community, you can be grateful knowing that you would not have done that without the mess up that you were involved in. And in some way you can find some parcel of gratitude for a bad situation.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the subject, Ryan. You know, I feel it's critical for us for me to go into those apologies with the expectation that they may not receive it. And I think we get hung up a lot where we're like, oh, I need to clean this up. And the translation of that is, I'm going to resolve it for us. No, you're resolving it for you and what's within your realm of control. And maybe this is me just being overly negative. I would assume they may not accept it. So then that way, if they do,
it's better to go into it in that assumption. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then that way I don't have expectation that they're going to forgive me, that they're going, that we're all going to be solid. That's not what the intent is. And really let go of that expectation. So then that way it's pure. It's rooted in what you can control, and you clean it up. Why? For you and your integrity, and for them, but it's not based upon them accepting it.
Right. Yeah. And I would say it's for other people too. A lot of the times when you hear about this apology advice, and we've even said it, like, do it for you, and absolutely do it for you. But also, you slighted somebody, you hurt somebody, you made a bad decision, and it may not make things better, but I could tell in this person's voice yesterday when I was offering this apology that what I did impacted them negatively, and me apologizing helped them in a small, I could sense it in their voice, helped in a small way. I didn't do it for that, but people deserve that, I think, especially if they were close and in your life.
Yeah, and it's your way of serving them, and making amends. What question on Facebook, what did it have to
There was one about respect, about offering respect or receiving respect. Does that look familiar? It probably was the last one, or I can't remember. I can paraphrase if you can't find it.
I can actually work on it. I don't see
I'll paraphrase.
Yeah,
I'll paraphrase.
Okay.
So this gentleman was asking about respect being earned or versus given. And I think if I remember correctly, he had seen a lot of advice out there that says respect has to be earned. But is that true? Because shouldn't you just be respectful? It was a question like that.
Yeah.
And I thought he made a good point, and I tend to agree with him that, yes, respect ought to be earned, but I think as decent human beings, there's a baseline level of respect that we can just give to every single person because they're a human being and they're worthy of some baseline level of respect. So, for example, sometimes I swear, but if I'm at a football game and I'm getting passionate, I really try to refrain from using foul language because there's kids and there's families around. Yeah. Now, do I have to? No, I suppose I don't have to. But those people, even though I don't know them at all, and they might even be horrible people, I'm just going to go ahead and assume that they deserve a baseline level of respect because they're existing and I'm existing with them. If Kipp, you and I are strangers and we meet at a business function, of course, I'm going to give you a baseline level of respect until you prove to me otherwise. Now, I'm not going to trust you. I'm not going to say, hey, will you babysit my kids this weekend? But I might say, hey, you know what? We're pretty aligned in our business. I respect what you've said. I respect how you show up. I respect the information you've given me. Can we go to lunch and maybe talk more about this? I can give you and afford you that level of respect. Now, if you don't show up to the lunch meeting, okay, you diminish the baseline level of respect that I afforded you. So it still is a choice, But above and beyond that, yes, respect has to be earned. And I think that's the balance. Baseline level versus above and beyond.
Well, and I like to approach this from the perspective of what's effective. You know, and a lot of us, we're in a position of influence. So are you going to give people respect or no respect? Well, if you give them no respect, how does that affect your ability to influence them? It diminishes it. Is that what you want? Is that what you don't want, right? Like, I don't think it's an answer black and white, right? Do people earn it or not? Do you want to influence them? Because I know for sure that if some stranger doesn't show me a level of respect, they're inviting something else from me, not mutual respect. They're inviting me to be an asshole if they're going to be an asshole to me, right? So like, just look at it and is it serving you or not? And I think, and I'm not putting this guy on blast, but like often when I hear this, it's like, well, you know, I'm not a very people got to earn my trust first. Okay, who's that about? It's about your ego. Got it, right? It's about you stroking your ego, not about like the effectiveness of the relationship and your ability to influence people. That's a different conversation than you got to earn my respect or you got to earn my trust. Understand the human condition a little bit.
Well, and when people say that, like they have to earn my respect, it's like, well, what are you asking them to do?
Like, totally. They don't know
you. Are you asking them to perform brain surgery this afternoon on you? And in that case, I'd say, yeah,
probably a good idea.
To earn my respect. But it's like, what in the world are you, like, I'm just talking to you. Like, there's no expectations. I'm asking about your day or your work or whatever. Like, you don't need to earn that from me. I'll just give that to you because you're a human being.
Yeah. Just understand how people will react to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you brought up a good point about influence. You said, do you want to be influential? And this is an exercise I've talked about with my kids, but I also talk about it when we do events. I ask this question: do you get to decide if you influence people in your life? And there's a large majority of people who will raise their hands and say, yes, I get to decide. And that's wrong. You actually don't get to decide if you're influential in people's life. The only thing you get to decide is how you're influential.
Yeah.
So if you and I meet for the first time and I'm a total dick to you, I'm definitely influencing you. But not in the way that's going to be beneficial or advantageous to me or you.
Yeah.
If my kids see me doing crazy things, flying off the rails at sports games or in public or letting go of myself, I'm definitely influencing them. Not in a very positive and constructive way. So if you're going to be influential with everybody you come in contact with, like I was at the gym this morning, I was walking out and this lady, she was walking out in front of me and she held the door and I said, thank you. And then there was another door and she held it. And then there's a third door to get out and she held that. I'm like, thanks. Three, you held the door for three times for me today. Or I said something and she laughed. That was just a minor little. And you know what? She's going to think better of me at the gym next time. And I think better of her for what? For holding the door for me but you are influential. And that's what you need to realize. You're always influential and somebody always sees what you're doing.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. Gavin Maserly, my 13-year-old boy seems to be dealing with some insecurity with his body and weight. Someone told him he's pudgy, so now he's not eating at school and he's wearing hoodies when it's 75 degrees outside. I'm doing my best to lead by example, letting him see me work out. What are some other ways to help combat this? He's built like a tank, but genuinely not pudgy.
Yeah, this is hard. I actually went through this with my son, Brecken. And when he was probably about that age, 12, 13, he was getting a little pudgy. And I don't remember if somebody said that to him or if he just recognized it himself. But he did the exact same thing. And I can go through a timeline of pictures and see how skinny he got.
Dude, it was like a transformational thing.
Right.
Like I remember one year I saw him, the next year I was like, what the crap? Right. Like just
crazy
change. It was nuts. Yeah.
And it wasn't totally healthy the way that he did it. You know, and I didn't need to push him. His mom didn't need to push him. It was on him. I mean, part of it is your son's going to go through puberty, Gavin. Like if he's not already, he's prepubescent right now. He's going to get through puberty. He's going to lose some of that baby fat. He's going to get tall and stretch out. Like, that's going to happen. But I would talk to him about how he feels about himself. Are you doing this for the approval of other people, or are you doing this because you don't feel comfortable with how you look and you'd like to be healthier?
Yeah.
And that was the decision I think Brecken made, is it wasn't about what other people thought. It was an internal decision that he wanted to feel good about himself.
Yeah.
And he did take it to the extreme. And it sounds like, Gavin, your son is doing that as well. So that's hard. But when you're making new behavioral changes, we tend to take them to the extreme because we don't know how to balance it correctly. So I'm not going to say that he shouldn't do that or he should do that. But what I would encourage him to do is to do it in a very healthy way, because getting lean and getting strong and getting fit, that's not a bad thing at all. That's a great thing. And if you're modeling that for him, you're inviting him to work out with you, you're going to work out with him in the way that he likes. Maybe he doesn't want to work out. Maybe he wants to play basketball. Cool. We can go play basketball. That's a great workout.
Yeah.
So get involved in his world the way that he wants to do it. And as he takes it to the extreme of like not eating at school, it's your job as a father to say, hey, we are going to eat. Like, you're definitely going to eat, but let's you and I come up with a meal choice and we'll do some meal planning on Sunday. And then that way at school, instead of eating at the cafeteria, you bring your own lunch, but it's chicken and rice and broccoli and water. Or at the cafeteria, what are the food choices? Okay, which choices should you make? And just help him navigate doing what I think is a good and healthy thing, just taken to the extreme.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what do most parents respond in this circumstance, right? Like, most parents would be like, oh, no, you're fine. You're perfect. Yeah, brush it off.
He doesn't think that.
You're okay. And it's like, you just invalidated how they feel and you lied to them. The reality of it is, he might be pudgy, right? And he may not like it, period. So, okay, got it. You want to be more in shape. You want to be stronger or whatever. How do we do it? And just get in the trenches with him. Hey, not eating, your body actually needs fuel. You want to get stronger. You want to burn calories. It's actually, you need to eat. So let me show you how that's done, right? And it could be a great thing. And anybody listening, this isn't just about weight. This could be anything. A kid gets triggered with, I don't like the way I look, like how I dress, or, them navigating, let's be frank, navigating identity crisis. Who am I? Am I a skater? Am I a punk rock kid? Am I a jock? I don't want to be one anymore. I want to dress and look like this. Okay, why? And what are the dangers of just seeking external validation? And be careful with that. But what do you think it looks like? And how do we do this in a healthy way? And just, I wouldn't demonize anything, and I would just navigate the landscape of what this is with them, because this won't be the last time. And it's going to come up again.
That is a good point.
Other areas of life show up this way, right? We get a trigger, an external thing that makes us self-evaluate. How do we navigate those situations? And what an awesome opportunity you have, Gavin, to start on this path of helping your son navigate this world.
I liked what you said about what do most parents do? Like, no, brush it off. Not only did you invalidate, but this goes to what you said on the podcast yesterday about being a rescuer.
Yep.
You can't rescue your kids that way, because if you do, that's like, it's the equivalent of these people who go on these singing shows and talent shows, and they get up there to sing or do their talent, and the judges say, you're horrible. And it cripples them. It crushes them, because have they never heard anybody say the truth to them?
Oh, it's so
and who
funny.
is the one that loves most? The one who says the truth, or the one who discloses the truth because they don't want to feel uncomfortable?
Totally.
Do you love your children enough, or your partner enough, or your clients enough to say the truth? I remember when I was doing financial planning, we were taught to tell people, like, hey, look, you're not in a good situation. Like, I think you think that you are, but let's paint this scenario a little bit and actually show you why you've got some real gaps and dangers that you're oblivious to. And it would be the same thing to your kids or to your wife or whoever you happen to be dealing with.
You gotta put this clip in the show notes or something. Have you seen the one where it's like a family member sitting outside the garage and they're all hanging tight, and the mom points to the son. She's like,
"That kid right there,
that kid right there, he's going to be an athlete." And then someone chucks him a ball and he can't catch it, and it just whacks him right in the face. And you're like, but to your point, why did the mom say it? All because it validates her. That son right there, he's going to be an athlete.
He's
AKA,
mine, and he's going to be an athlete.
He makes me look good. Right. Selfish. I was reading a book around this. They say, never tell your kid how talented they are. Never tell your kid how talented they are. Celebrate their work ethic instead.
Their work ethic. Yeah.
And I honestly believe that Asia and I, we did a disservice to my son Kiave in this category. When he was younger, just natural athlete. This kid was just crazy. And we'd tell him all the time, "Oh, you're so talented. You're so athletic. You're so talented." And then eventually, right, what happened? Other kids started catching up to him, but he didn't have the work ethic. And all of a sudden, other kids were getting better than him because we were celebrating him just being perfect without effort.
Yeah.
And I think we actually did him a disservice. And all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, got it. It's the work I got to put in." You know what I mean? And then we changed our tune a little bit. But man, be careful. Be careful how we set our kids up.
Well, even for yourself, like, don't build your identity on this in a glass house where it's or on a sandy foundation where it's so fragile that any little thing could completely cripple you and your identity because of what you wrapped it up in. You know, and you having a lot of money or being attractive or having a particular talent or a skill set, that could be ripped away from you
in a second
today.
And you can't change it.
And if your identity was in that, or work, even your work, if your identity was in that, or even being a father or a husband, which are noble things, but if your identity is completely wrapped up in that stuff goes away.
Yeah.
You know, I hate to be morbid,
midlife
but
crisis.
Children pass away. Yeah. Children grow up and they get older and they move out to college. People go through divorces. Like, that stuff goes away.
Yeah. You retire. You're no longer active military. You're no longer a police officer. All these things that you used to validate yourself, right? They can change. Yeah.
Yeah.
Raul Gutierrez, will either of you gents be attending the May 31st Bedros Kulian live event in Anaheim, California?
No, I won't. And that came across like harsh. Like, no, I will not. Like, Bedros and I are friends, so I hope it didn't come across.
Absolutely not. In fact, if you go, you tell Bedros.
So that might have come out different than the way I intended. I was just saying, no, I'm not planning on attending. Bedros, though, is phenomenal. And you know what?
Stud.
He deserves a little credit, and I'll tell you why. When years ago I was going through the alcohol abuse and the looming divorce, I called a handful of people. You were one of them, a few others. And I called Bedros because he's a friend of mine. And I was a little nervous about calling Bedros because he's a high performer. He coaches high performance. He holds people accountable. But he was a friend of mine, and I thought he could offer some insight or some feedback. And that guy stood by me more than just about anybody else. He didn't judge. He was there. He was supportive. He encouraged me to change my behaviors in a constructive, powerful way. But he never made me feel like a piece of crap or less than or unimportant or you're not worth anything because you screwed up anymore. And I got to give a shout out to Bedros. And I've brought my sons to live events that he's done and boot camps that he's done and the Squire program he does with young boys. And I just love that guy. So I want to set the record straight because the way I initially said it made it sound like I didn't feel that way. But that's how I feel about B.
Yeah, he's a stud. All right, Edward Simmons. I'm just starting the gap and the gain, and the concept really hits home. I've spent a lot of my life in the gap and always comparing and measuring against where I thought I should be. While I can see how this has held me back, I also feel like it has pushed me to succeed in ways. My question, how do you stay out of the comparison trap and stay motivated to grow and push forward? And I'm assuming I'd add to Edward's questions like, how do I stay out of comparison and motivated, but still succeed, right? So how do I operate in the gain and be successful, knowing that the gap has kind of helped us succeed in certain areas, right?
The gap is not a bad thing. It's all just in moderation. It's okay to recognize where you fall short. It's okay to have desires and dreams and goals and ambitions. It's when it becomes toxic. You know, there's a point in time where even water, something all of us would say is good for you, becomes toxic and maybe even life-threatening. Yeah. Taken in high quantities, right?
Totally. Yep.
And I think it's the same thing with the gap. You know, it's okay to acknowledge it. But if it begins to demoralize you or put you down or make you feel less than or cause procrastination or making yourself feel like you're a loser, then, okay, now you know it's toxic levels.
Yeah.
And the way that I've avoided personally the comparison trap, and I should distinguish, it's okay to compare yourself to where other people are as long as it doesn't impact your worth as a human being.
Yeah.
So if I see you performing, Kipp, at a very high level in jiu-jitsu, for example, I can compare my game to yours. You're better at jiu-jitsu than I am. That doesn't demoralize me. It doesn't make me feel bad about myself. It doesn't make me want to quit jiu-jitsu. Like, it just means he's better. He's been doing it longer, and this is why. Yeah. And what can I learn from him? Now, there are other scenarios and situations and even people that I fall into this comparison trap for whatever reason. I just do. And it becomes toxic, and I wish that I had what they had, and I become envious and jealous. And I purge that from my life, actually. I unfollow their accounts. I don't connect with them. I don't think less of them. But for whatever reason, there's something in it that triggers me to compare myself to them in an unhealthy way. And I just eliminate that from my life. I've unfollowed so many accounts, unsubscribed from so many emails, stopped listening to so many podcasts, stopped going to certain conferences, because for whatever reason, those people trigger a negative comparison trap for me. And I just don't want to deal with it. So I look to people that edify me, uplift me, like Bedros, like we were talking about. He's significantly farther down the track than I am on just about every metric. It's not demeaning, demoralizing. It's just he is, and I'm still continuing to be motivated by him, which is why we're still in touch.
You know, for me, Edward, I think the biggest thing around this topic that I struggle with is I'm just ungrateful. I mean, that's the main thing, is like I get wrapped up in the gap of the way it should be or where I should be, that I forget where I'm at. You know, and I go back 20 years of my life that I would have never dreamed that I'd be where I'm at. And it's not that like I'm so amazing. I didn't even think that was possible for me. Like, it wasn't even on my radar. I mean, I was raised in a family that going to college wasn't even a thought. And it wasn't a thought because I thought that's what rich people did. I didn't even think I could. And it wasn't until a Hail Mary, a couple months towards the end of high school when I'm asking my friends like, hey, what are you doing? I'm going to college. What are you doing? I'm going to college. I'm thinking, man, that sucks. And then someone said to me, you could go to college. And I'm like, oh, I don't have the money. No, there's like loans and all kinds of things. And I'm like, what? Like, seriously, it's so crazy to think in retrospect. But like, I just didn't even think that was possible. Like, my life was, I'm going to probably work on a farm doing labor work because that's my lot. That's what I honestly thought. So when I look at life right now, I'm like, holy shit, like, awesome, Kipp, celebrate that. But I don't. Yeah. I don't as much as I should. And I don't. Why? Because it's not good enough. It's never good enough, right? And I got to remind myself, man, life is good. I would have never dreamt of my life. There are people willing to die and have what I have. And yet I'm operating in the space of it's not good enough, right? So for me, it's about being present where I'm at. And I've heard I'm still in this from you, Ryan. The comparison trap is often a comparison of where they are, where we think we should be. And I think we just need to dig a little bit deeper and say, okay, well, if I want to be there, why? Or why are they there? Okay,
got it.
They got reps and all these other things, right? And it's not an intrinsic value thing between me and them. It's they put in the reps, or they paid a price that I haven't paid, or that I may not be willing to pay.
Unwilling to pay. Yeah.
And it's really important to get clear there. Am I willing to? Am I willing to do what they've done? And I may not want to. So I better let that go. Otherwise, I'm dragging myself through what should be for no reason, because I've gotten really clear that I'm not willing to do what they've done. And that's okay.
That's why I think by default, it's never a good idea to discount somebody's success. Oh, this person just knew the right person. This person came from financial acumen or background or wealth. This person has more connections. This person was in the right place at the right time. Oh, if I had his situation, or I didn't have this that I was dealing with, and I was, at the Midas touch, that everything I touched turned to gold, then I would be successful.
Yeah.
The problem with that is you're discounting what that individual did to get there, and it makes you believe that you just haven't been dubbed or tapped on the shoulder for success. Yeah. And sometimes people get lucky. Sometimes fortunate events happen. Sometimes people are in the right place at the right time. That's few and far between. And even if they are at the right place at the right time, they still have to be in the position to capitalize on it.
Yeah.
There's an interesting concept I came across just the other day. I was listening to a book or a podcast. I can't even remember where I heard it, but they said, it's interesting when we compare. Who do we compare ourselves to? People who are perceived better than us. But you never compare down.
That is so true. That's funny.
Isn't that wild? It hit me. I was like, that's true. We always say, well, that guy has a bigger house. That guy has a better looking wife. That guy has more money. That guy has abs. That guy has a business. But we never look at the neighbor who are like, hey, that guy's really struggling. Or if you've got a cell phone, a supercomputer in your pocket, the percentage of people who don't have access to clean water in the world is mind-boggling to me. Yeah. And so if you have clean water and electricity, my fan's blowing right now, the AC's at the perfect temperature, 68 degrees in my house. I've got this supercomputer that makes me a cyborg. I've got the ability to communicate ideas. I'm fairly intelligent. That's subject for debate, for some people. I've got kids. My dog's chilling right here. The mortgage is paid.
Your health, yeah.
Yeah, and yet, Kipp, we've had conversations in the past several weeks, months, where it's like, this isn't going good in my life. And it might be true, but there's a lot of good things happening too.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick Coda, our battle team had 2 guys go to the last men's event and both raved about it. Are you planning on having another men's event this year or next? What would you do differently for the next event?
Yeah, so we are doing another. We are doing another event. It's called the Men's Forge, is what it's called. And Larry Hagner with the Dad Edge and myself partnered up. This is the first time we've ever officially partnered up. We've been friends for a long time. It's interesting because by any objective standard, you could say we are competitors, but I've never really looked at it that way. Larry brings a lot of value into my life. He shares a lot of ideas, and I hope I bring a lot of value and share ideas with him. I hope he would say the same thing. So we decided to partner up, and man, everything that could have went wrong. Speakers dropped out, business partnerships didn't work. Leading up to it. We had fewer people attend than we thought. We were worried about the contract that we had signed because we had fewer people. Larry ended up tearing his patella tendon or something. I can't remember exactly. I thought it was his ACL or MCL, but it's like the patella tendon or ligament. I don't know. He's got to go in for surgery. Like, there's a lot of things that went wrong, and yet it was my favorite event. It was so good. We had 50 guys just outside of St. Louis on this working ranch with bison and elk and fallow deer and longhorns. And then it's a Christian youth camp. So I want you to imagine 50 men in an environment that is somewhat like a traditional conference that you'd go to mixed with Boy Scout camp, where we can actually go learn from each other. We can hear from powerful presenters. Keith Yackey, the Married Game, Sathia Sam, Brandon Mancine. These guys performed so well on stage, so much value from those guys. And then we had other activities. We all ate together every night. We trained a little jujitsu. I didn't tell you this. One morning,
Yeah,
we're
I
in the
saw it.
cabin. Did you see it?
Yeah, you guys like laid down mattresses from the beds and had a training session.
It was like we're all just like, let's go. And there was on these 4 California king size mattresses, there was like 10 people at a time. We're bumping into each other, kicking each other in the face. Ropes courses. They've got a pistol course next year. So I don't know what we're going to change necessarily because it was really good. There's firesides in a big, huge fire pit. Like it was awesome. The only thing that we're going to change is we're going to have more people there next year.
Yeah.
And we're just going to impact more lives.
That's themensforge.com. The dates are actually posted on the website already and you can register.
Yeah.
So
yeah, April 23rd through the 26th of next year.
Excellent. Dalton Howard, what would you say are some of the most important things to keep in mind when starting a business? In your opinion is the part that I wasn't going to read, but that's a given. Okay.
First is because you're good at the thing doesn't mean you're a good business owner. That is the premise of E-Myth. So if you haven't read E-Myth Revisited, go and read that first.
It's great.
Because if you're good at plumbing, doesn't mean you're going to run a great plumbing company. Or if you're good at
skill.
Web design, it's a different skill. So what I would suggest is learn the other skills. And the other skills are marketing, accounting, bookkeeping, business management, managing other people, changing your tax structure because now you're a business, you're no longer an employee. So learning the tax ramifications of that, bringing the right team, the legalities, the liabilities, the insurances, like
the balance of it all. Yeah. Like do all that. Don't sell too much and not deliver because then you lose clients. Don't focus on delivery and not sell because then you'll have no work next month. I mean, I struggle with this. Oh, I was going to ask you really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think social media and online, everyone glorifies entrepreneurship, right? Like, and it's funny because I get so much reels and it's everyone selling a thing about being your own boss and entrepreneur. And I'm like, I actually don't think it's for everybody. and it's miserable sometimes, right? Like, in fact, I was thinking about this morning. I'm like, it's not until you're in a position where you're confronted with pay my employees or pay my mortgage. What should I do? Until you experience that, you're like, you're not an entrepreneur. You have no idea. And it's tough. And here's the crazy part. And I read this quote. Who was it? That was, I already forgot who said it, but is this great quote. It says, the thing about entrepreneurship is most people going into it know it's really, really hard. And it ends up even being harder than they thought.
Yeah. So it's true. I think entrepreneurship is 90% horrible. And 10% of it makes up for the 90% when it happens.
When it happens, yeah.
Right. So you have like a successful event that we just talked about. 90% of that was unsuccessful in every sense of the word. But the 10% that was successful made up for it. But there were a lot of sleepless nights. There were a lot of negotiating contracts. There were a lot of really difficult conversations with potential business partners. Like, it was not fun. Yeah. A couple of days ago, I went to my accountant and sat down with him about tax liability, and that's not fun. But the 10% to me makes it worth it. So you really have to consider that. So learn the business side of the business. That's what I would say. And then the other thing is be a good marketer. Learn how to, you can hire people to do your taxes. You can buy insurance to cover your liability. You can put contracts in place by credible lawyers. You can hire marketing firms, I guess, too. But unless you know how to market your service, and promote it and pitch it and share it and get people excited about it and passionate about it, you're not a business because there's nothing that you might have something to sell, but you don't have anybody to sell it to. So it doesn't matter how good your service is or your widget or your product or your this or your that. If nobody sees it or nobody likes it, then you have nothing.
Yeah.
So spend some time, invest in some social media courses, buy some books.
What book would you recommend around marketing?
What's his name? Russell Brunson? Russell Brunson? Is that the ClickFunnels guy?
I don't know.
I think that's his name. He's got some really good stuff. I always mix him up and Russell Brand. Let me see. Let me make sure. Yeah, Russell Brand's the actor, but Russell Brunson is the ClickFunnels guy. He's got some really good books on generating leads and sales through digital marketing. I would definitely turn there. And then just follow people you like and mimic. I wouldn't say copy, but borrow ideas and concepts. I like this. I like that. Let me do it this way. And then just start sharing. Totally. You can't really find your voice until you start speaking. It would be like asking a child when their very first word should be a perfectly formed, coherent sentence. It's not how it works. They make noises and they mess words up and they don't know how to say words, and we laugh but they keep doing it and keep doing it, and then finally they get pronunciation down and they get sentence structure down and they can clearly communicate instead of crying. It's the same thing with marketing. Is you don't get to have your voice until you develop your voice. So you have to start sharing.
Totally. And I think tied to that is focus on minimal viable product, not perfection. Otherwise, you won't ever get started. You won't put stuff out. You'll wait until, and I'm not saying do subpar work. Do your best, but also don't procrastinate it and wait too long. Test out the waters, see if there's momentum. We talked about this yesterday, and I think it's critical, is have a tax strategy part of this too, right? Like, it's crazy to me how often there's like small business owners and they're paying themselves a full W-2 salary. And I'm like,
paying way too much in there.
Why are you even an entrepreneur then? I mean, that's the benefit of being an entrepreneur is the tax strategy. And if you're not have a tax strategy, what are you doing? You might as well be working for someone else. So
yeah, because it's way easier if you're not getting any benefits. But you're gonna pay less payroll taxes, Social Security taxes. If you don't know what that is, figure it out. Like hire an accountant and say, hey, I need help with this. Yeah, and they'll help
absolutely. You said something funny. It's like Asia used to always say. She says when Kipp worked for himself, it was we were the richest people and the poorest people. Constantly.
Totally.
And that's how it felt, right? 1 minute we're like, woohoo, we've made it. Next month, crap, we're poor. It was just, oh my gosh. The
thing that's hard to me is that you have, like, you look at your income for the year and you're like, whoa, I made a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then you look at your bank account and you're like, where is all that money? And you gave 30% of it to the government and 30% of it to employees and cost of managing the day-to-day operations, and 15% of it went to servicing debt, credit cards, business loans. Maybe there's a business partner. And then congratulations, you made $1 million. Here's $80,000 for you and your family. Gee, thanks. That's amazing.
And I laugh because it's so true. Like in fact, and I'm not putting you on the spot, but like when you're talking about the amazing event, right? You're like, oh, we had all these hardships and we had this great event, right? And then there's the like post event where you're like, that event was so great. How much money do you make? Well, that's not cost effective. Yeah, you're like, awesome, great event, but bad business maybe, if the margins aren't there. So it's like, oh man.
They were, fortunately for us, because I've done it for 10 years. But I'll tell you what, the first, and our event coordinator, Chris Gatchko, can attest to this, the first 3 or 4 events, we lost money.
Yeah.
And we kept doing them because we're dumb. Yeah. Dumb enough to succeed.
Bad business.
And figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. All right, Brad Letterman. My 12-year-old son has out of baseball tournament this weekend with a game Friday, and 2 on Saturday, pending on how they do. There is a potential for a championship game on Sunday. My wife, soon to be ex, is not sports minded at all and has made plans with the kids and her aunt for that Sunday, knowing of said tournament and the states that our son wants to partake in the outing. Do I push the issue with her that he needs to follow through with the commitments and be there for his team?
How old's the son?
12.
And you won't know the answer to this, but you have to question whether or not she did it deliberately and intentionally.
Yeah.
So the first question I would pose to who this was is, have you talked with her about it?
Yeah.
Because right now it could just be a lot of assumptions. Like, she did this on purpose. She's trying to undermine me. She doesn't appreciate sports. So they're doing a picnic in the park or whatever. But you don't really know unless you talk with her. And you might even not know even after you talk with her, especially if there's some contention. And it sounds like there is.
Yeah, and she might be the realist here, Brad, because they don't have a Sunday game unless they go to the championship, and they haven't won a game all year. And so she's like, they're not playing Sunday, and you're still wishing that little Timmy's gonna win the show.
I mean, look, you're asking for my opinion on it.
Yeah,
and he's 12 years old, and this is hard because you've got the contention in the relationship. I think I would talk with your soon-to-be ex and communicate with her in a respectful way why this is so important and that you would like to take little Timmy to the game if it takes place, and that you do the picnic thing or whatever with the rest of the kids in the family. I'll talk with little Timmy about why this is important, and then after the game, I will bring him to the picnic or to wherever so that he can meet up with the family. I think that's the compromise that I would go towards, because I think you're right. He's part of the team. You don't get to just bail, especially in a championship game, if you make it, because somebody planned poorly.
Totally.
So
and make it about the lesson.
And just try to make it a compromise. And I think there's some compromise there. Look, at the end of the day, she might say, "No, we're not. This is what we're doing." Like, I don't know. I don't know how contentious it is. And is it something that you have to die on? No, I think you try to make the compromise. You try to get your son to do the right thing. You advocate for that. You grease the grooves by saying, "Hey, I'll pick him up. I'll get him there, but he needs to be there for the team." You talk to him why it's important. And then at that stage, if she's refusing to do it, I personally would document that, and I would talk with my attorney about that, because these types of decisions with your kids, I think, ought to be made by both parents. And she needs to learn. Again, I'm making assumptions here, but if she feels this way, she needs to learn that these decisions will be made by both parents. I have to deal with that too in my situation, where she might make a decision and I'm like, I don't agree with that decision. And in the past, I might have been a little bit too lenient or let her make all the decisions because she might feel like, quote unquote, the default parent. But what I'm seeing now is, no, there's boundaries. And my say as a father is just as important, just as credible, and just as relevant as yours as a mother. So we're going to make these decisions together. I'm not going to die on every hill, but if it's important to you and you think it's important to your son, then you should fight that battle. Absolutely, you should.
Absolutely. Those are all the questions from the Iron Council. Did you have a couple on the Instagram that you wanted to
I've got
cover?
A couple here, just for the
Maybe
sake
one
of
or
time,
two.
Kipp, because I do have a hard stop today. Let me just pull up maybe one or two and see how we do here.
Okay.
So the first question is, we talked about the sobriety one. Oh, here's a good one. Let me look. I'm trying to pick the best one here. Oh, here's an interesting one. What do you bench?
Have you done a PR for a while?
I did maybe like 3 or 4 months ago. And if I remember correctly, I hit 250 was my bench.
Yeah.
But I want to get that up into the high 200s, if not hit 300 this year. That's my goal.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I'm always
Where are you at? Do you know where you're at?
High reps. No, I haven't done a PR. Like, I know my app probably does a calculated PR based upon rep count and stuff, but
Reps. And,
yeah, but I don't know. I'd have to look. It's not very high. My bench has never been amazing. It sucks.
Mine hasn't either in the past, but I've been really focused on chest, arms, shoulders, back, lats, traps, delts, and my growth has been really, really good.
That's awesome.
Here's another question.
The vagina cruncher machine. I just go to the gym. I do that for 30 minutes.
The vagina cruncher machine. I think that's actually the official name of it. Actually, it's what they say. Like, go over and do the vagina cruncher machine. God, that is such a weird machine. Like, ladies do that machine all the time, and
it's for their glutes.
I kind of am like, man, that's a vulnerable situation. They structure the machine in the right way, so like they put it towards the wall, and it's like the weights are in front of the front.
You can't make eye contact. You can't make eye contact with people on that machine. Yeah, I've done that machine. I actually have. But it's usually on a Sunday when no one's at the gym.
I've never done that machine.
You should try it.
I stick with my
Your ass will hurt for a week. Seriously,
I stick with the Thigh Master, this Suzanne Summers or whatever Thigh Master. That's my go-to.
You like the shake? What's the shake? The shake thing.
Oh, the shake weight.
Yeah, that's yours.
Absolutely. I'm just gonna be crude. I'm not gonna go there today. There's a video where like the cable machines. And maybe you're doing like on one side, you're doing a row with the weight. And then on the other side of it, directly across from you, the guy's maybe doing lat pull downs.
Yeah.
And there's a video where it's like awkward, where the guy's doing rows, and every time the weight goes up, they look at each other and they're just staring at one guy's doing lat pull downs, the other guy's doing cables, and they're just looking straight into each other's eyes.
Yeah.
They're like, everybody who goes to the gym and works cable machines knows the awkwardness of this. I had a guy that was doing the same thing this morning. I'm doing rows, and he's on the lat machines, and I pull it up right at the time he does, and we look at each other, and we both go, turn away real quick.
Yeah. You want to mess with someone, weird. Wait until a dude's on the hip thruster or whatever, and then you just go stand in front and just make eye contact. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Oh, my gosh. It's funny.
I'm sorry. That's funny. All right. What question you got?
Last one right here.
Okay.
Advice of letting go of a girl that is holding you back. How long is too long to keep trying? It's too long. I'm not trying to be flippant.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to be flippant about it.
Yeah.
I think you said she's holding you back. That's what you said. Now, if you're saying, hey, I'm trying to figure out if this is a fit for us. I'm trying to figure out if we can make this work. I'm trying to figure out if my partner will make changes that I'd like to see, or that we want to work together and work through issues that we have. I think if a partner's willing to grow and explore together and continue to work forward, even if it's not ideal, then I think it is worth pursuing. I'm not flippant about relationships. I love being in a relationship, a long-term relationship with one person, and that's just me. So because I love that, I think it's worth pursuing something that is still available, something that's still optional. But I will say, if she has proven to you, or alternatively, you have proven to her that you're not willing to grow, or that your goals and objectives and desires don't align, or there are hard stops or boundaries that you aren't willing to jeopardize, you have to make that decision, just like I would tell a woman she has to make that decision with a man. And the reality is depending on your age, if this is maybe a second relationship or after a divorce or not, the reality is people aren't really going to change all that much.
Yeah.
And maybe she doesn't even think like she's holding you back. It's just that you're on two different tracks. And so it feels like she's holding you back when really she's just on a different track than you. I don't really know the situation. But I do think if you've tried all of these and you've had conversations and you've explained to her what you feel and how you feel about it, and that you want to give it an effort and she's willing to give it an effort, and you're both in it, even to the slightest degree, then do it. But if you've already decided, it's probably time to end the relationship, unless you're married.
Yeah.
And in that case, I'd say, no, work even harder for a little longer. Yeah. And that would be my default answer.
Let me ask you this, Ryan, just really quick. Yeah, when you're sharing, I had this paradigm or this thought that working it out or seeing if it's going to work out is what adjustments am I willing to make to accept her the way she is the working out, not I'm waiting for her to change. Do you agree with that approach? Right? Because
Generally,
there's some danger in it, right? It's like, oh, well, she's not quite, I'm hoping that she'll be different. That's going to come up with resentment and all kinds of stuff from her perspective. But if your approach is like, okay, she's this way, and I'm working on whether I can accept her exactly the way she is, and that's the working out, then that's probably a healthier version of working on it.
I would generally agree with that.
Yeah.
But I'd also leave room I'd leave some wiggle room
People
and some
grow
caveats in there.
Yeah.
And like I said, yes, you should accept her and love her the way that she is. We all want to find partners like that who were like, yeah, that person, I love their flaws. I love the things they're good at, and I accept the things that I don't particularly agree with or like, and they're not deal breakers. And I think that's fine. We should all want a relationship like that.
Yeah.
But you also owe it to a person to say, hey, you know what? Like, I don't like this, or this part of our relationship makes me feel this way, or I struggle with this in our relationship because X, Y, and Z. And I wanted to bring this to your attention to see how you feel about it. And she might say, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize, or,
or that's a minor thing.
That bothers you?
Yeah.
Let me see what how do we work on it? And man, if she comes to you and says that, I'm like, cool, I'm still in it then.
Yeah.
Because you love her, obviously. If you didn't love her, you wouldn't even ask the question. You had already been done. But if you've already done that, and she's like, yeah, I'm not changing that, even just by her behavior or actions or words, then I think it's probably time to make some tough decisions, and they'll be painful for you and for her.
Yeah.
But it also frees both people. It doesn't feel like that when you're in the middle of it. And depending on the relationship, it could take a really, really long time to feel that way. But it actually is freeing. It's freeing for her. And by the way, the roles could be reversed just as easily, but it's freeing for her because now she can go pursue the things that she wants to pursue and live her life the way that she wants to live her life. And maybe it's less stressful for her. And it also frees you because now you have an opportunity to find somebody who is more aligned with you or doesn't see it the same way or does things differently. And it takes a long time to feel that way because you're so maybe enamored or in love with this person. But eventually it is a good thing in the long run.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think a couple call to actions. I mean, we talked about the Men's Forge event coming next year in April. Individuals can sign up for that. That's the mensforge.com to learn more and ultimately reserve your spot. The other thing is connect with Ryan on X and Instagram at Ryan Michler. Iron Council's closed. We have enrollment opening up next month.
About a month.
Jeez, already
goes quick. I know.
Another quarter. If you want to learn more about that, that's theironcouncil.com or orderman.com/ironcouncil. The other thing too is you have the Battle Ready, and you would recommend people take a look at the Battle Ready program as well.
Yeah, it's a free program. It's a series of emails that you'll receive over 17 days. 17 emails over 30 days. And it's going to walk you through the system that we use for battle planning, creating a emotionally charged and compelling vision, coming up with 4 different objectives you want to accomplish in the next 90 days, the tactics that are going to be required on a daily basis to achieve those objectives, which aligns with your vision, and then making sure you're checking along the way to track if you're on track or to make pivots and adjustments. And we're going to teach you the system. It's transformative. I promise you, if you do this, it will change your life. I've had people be critical about it because they've seen some of my own shortcomings, and they've said, well, see, your battle plan doesn't work. I'm like, what they don't know is the worst parts of my life are when I'm not doing my battle planning. It's when I'm doing my battle planning that it succeeds. So does that tell us the battle plan doesn't work? Or does it say I don't work as a human being, which is why I need systems that are proven to replicate results? So it's powerful and it's free. So if you go to orderaman.com/battle ready, you can check it out.
Excellent. Okay.
Well, guys, great questions today. We've got a bunch more from Instagram, and I think we have some maybe from Facebook too that we'll get to next week. We'll address those. We want to hit all those questions, but I hope we served you. That is our goal ultimately. So we will be back on Friday. Until then, go out there, take action, and become the man you are meant to be.